to start with. So this law states that if all forces are balanced, so if all forces are balanced on a body, so if all forces are balanced on the body, there are two things that we need to note. There are two things that we need to know. The first one is that if it is at rest, it will continue to stay at rest. This is the first law, Newton's first law of motion, said that if it is at rest, it will continue to stay at rest. So it will continue. So it will continue. This is continue. It will continue to stay at rest. The other thing that we need to know under Newton's first law of motion is that if it is moving, let's say if it is moving, so if it is moving, it will continue. So it will keep moving. It will continue or keep moving. It will continue or keep moving at a constant speed. At a constant speed in a straight line. In a straight line. This is what we need to know. In a straight line. This is what Newton's first law of motion states. So it states that if you are taught in an exam that state Newton's first law of motion, it states that if all forces are balanced on a body, if it is at rest, it will continue. So it is going to continue to stay at rest. If it is moving, it will keep moving at a constant speed in a straight line. So these 2 points are the 2 points that makes up Newton's first law of motion. So you need to understand this first one, that if it is at rest, it will continue to stay at rest. If it is moving, the second one, it will keep moving at a constant speed in a straight line. So this is all that we need to know and understand under Newton's first law of motion. And the other thing is that the property of a body that resists a change to its motion is called inertia. So I want you to know this and I want you to understand this. Inertia. So what is inertia? Inertia, this is a property of a body that resists a change to its motion. That's what we call inertia. So inertia depends on the mass of an object. So whenever we are talking about inertia, it does what? It depends. So this one depends on the mass of an object. It depends on the mass of an object. It will depend on that mass of an object. So these are things that we need to know, that we need to understand. So if something has a higher resistance, let's say it has got a high resistance to change of motion, which means that one, it has a high mass, it is said to have high inertia. So this is what we need to get. This is what we need to know and understand. So let's make sure that we understand this. Let's make sure that we get what this principle or this law states. So let us look at Newton's second law of motion now. Let us look at Newton's second law of motion. We now look at Newton's second law of motion. So under this law, we are talking about unbalanced forces. So for every unbalanced forces acting, so unbalanced forces acting, so say unbalanced forces acting on a body, so acting on a body produces, so they produces an acceleration, so produces an acceleration in the direction, so produces an acceleration in the direction of the force, This is what we need to know and understand. So unbalanced force. So here we are talking about unbalanced what? Unbalanced force, a force which is not balanced. So unbalanced force acting on a body produces an acceleration in the direction of the force. Meaning that the acceleration, this acceleration which is being produced, there's this that you need to know and understand. The same acceleration that is being produced. So the acceleration that is being produced, that acceleration is directly, this is what you need to know, it is what? Directly proportional. It's directly proportional. So I'm going to do this. This is proportion. So it is directly proportional to the force. It's direct proportion to the force. So this is directly proportion to the force. But it is what? And inversely proportion to mass. And inversely proportion. This is proportion. So inversely proportion and inversely proportional to the mass. To the what? Inversely proportional to the mass of an object. The mass of an object. This is what we need to get and understand. So this law states that for any unbalanced force acting on a body produces an acceleration in the direction of the force. Meaning that the acceleration which is being produced is directly proportional to the force and inversely proportional to the mass of an object. So in an exam, when you are told to state Newton's second law of motion, this is what you are going to say. You are going to say for any unbalanced force acting on a body produces an acceleration in the direction of the force. And the acceleration produced is directly proportional to the force and inversely proportional to the mass of an object. So inversely proportional to the mass of an object. That's why we say that force is equal to mass times acceleration. That's the reason why we say that. Meaning that the acceleration here, which is here, the same acceleration which is here, it is directly proportional to the force here. But when we make acceleration, let's say we want to find acceleration, we are going to say acceleration is equal to force times mass over mass. Force over mass. Meaning that the acceleration is inversely proportional. It is what? Inversely proportional. So it is inversely proportional to the mass. Acceleration is inversely proportional to the mass of an object, but directly proportional to the what? To the force. So it is directly proportional to the force, but inversely proportional to the mass. This is what we get to talk about. But the first one, the Newton's first law of motion, that one states that for any balanced force on a body, if it is at rest, it will continue to be at rest. If it is moving, it will continue moving at a constant speed in a straight line. So that's the first law of motion, Newton's first law of motion. So this is all that you need to understand. So the force here, the force which is here, this force that is here, this is what we are calling the resultant force. So it is called the what? It is called the resultant force. We call it as the resultant force. We call it as a resultant force like this. It is the resultant force. Then the M which you are able to see, that is the mass. So it is the what? It is the mass. That is the mass. Mass is measured in what? Kilograms. Then we've got the A there. What is the A? The A is the acceleration. So I just want you to have a knowledge on this if you don't know what they mean. A, it is the acceleration. So your A there, that's your acceleration. Acceleration is in meter per second squared, like that. So these are things that you need to know. These are things that you need to take note of. Let us look at one or two examples under force. We've talked about resultant force, Newton's first law of motion, Newton's second law of motion. So let us now look at some of the examples that may come in your exams. So these are exam practice questions. The first example that we are going to get. This is the first example that we are going to answer. So the question is saying a force of 300 newtons acts on an object of mass 15 kg. Find its acceleration. So we want to find the acceleration. So you know that force is equal to mass times acceleration. This is the formula which we know. Then if we make acceleration the subject of the formula, where we divide both sides by m like this, we are going to have acceleration which is equal to force over mass, like this. So this is the formula that we are going to use, where I'm going to say, so to get a simple data which is given, I'm given a force of what? 300 newtons. I'm given the mass. What is the mass? The mass of what? The mass of 15 kg. This is the data which I'm given. So I just need to substitute there. What is the force? 300 newtons over what is the mass? 15 kg. Like this. I do this. Then I just work out the answer. So when you divide there, what answer are you going to get when we divide? So when you say 300 divide by 15, what are you going to get? We are going to get 20. So I'm going to say 20 meter per second squared. So that is the what? That is the force. So that's how you need to calculate the acceleration. So that one is the force. This is the mass. Then this answer that we found here, that is its acceleration. So this is how you need to answer these questions. This is how you need to answer them. Let us look at another question. Let us look at another example. Next question. This is our next question, which is saying a man pushes a 8 kg luggage on the smooth floor. It starts from rest and reaches 15 meters per second in 5 seconds. The first question, we are told what is its acceleration. So we want to find its acceleration. So this is a man that is pushing a 8 kg luggage on a smooth floor. It starts from rest and reaches a what? That velocity. So for us to find the acceleration, we are taught to find the acceleration. So what you need to do, you just get the data which you are given. What are you given? You are given initial velocity. Initial velocity, let me not put that one. Initial velocity is what? 0. It started from rest. What else are you given? You are given the final velocity. The final velocity is equal to what? It reaches 15 meters per second. You are also given time. So time is what? What is your time? Your time is 5 seconds, like that. 5 seconds. Then what are you taught to find? You are taught to find the acceleration. Acceleration is what? That's the one that you are going to put that. So you find the acceleration. How can you find the acceleration? The formula that you are going to use is this formula, where you say acceleration is equals to final velocity minus initial over time, because all the data is given. You cannot use that other formula because you don't have a force here. You don't have a force, but this formula can really help you, where you say this is equal to, what is your final velocity? It's 15 minus initial 0 over what is your time? your time is 5. Then you say finally what is your answer. When you say 15 minus 0, it is 15. 15 divided by 5, you get 3. So it's 3 meters per second squared. This is what you get. So it is what? 3 meters per second squared. So 15 minus 0, it's 15 over 5, it is 3 meters per second squared. That's how you need to calculate the acceleration. So this is the acceleration which we have calculated. Then the next question, we are told to find the force. So we are told to find what is the force acting on the luggage. So B, what are you told to find? What is the acting force on the luggage? What is the acting force on the what? On the luggage. So want to find the acting force on the luggage. How can you answer such a question? So what you are going to do now, you want to find the what? You want to find the force. So you know that force is equal to mass times acceleration, right? You know this. Which is equal to, force is equal to, what is your mass? 8. Times what is your acceleration? The one we've just from finding, 3. So in total, what are we having when we multiply? It's 24 newtons. Just like that. So that's how you need to answer it. It's what? 24 newtons. So this is what you need to do, and this is where we are going to end from. And if you are new to this YouTube channel, don't forget to subscribe to this channel. And if you are looking for tuitions in mathematics or science, you can WhatsApp me on this line. This is my WhatsApp number. You can WhatsApp me on this line. Then we'll be able to attend to you. This is my number, which is +26 0971 06 6747. This is my number. You can call me on this number. You can drop a text. Then I can help you out with mathematics. If you are a GC candidate in 10 or grade 10, 11, 12, I offer tuitions in mathematics, science. So science, I mean physics or chemistry. Thank you so much. Don't forget to like the video.